so freaking excited to share this wild AI-powered radio workflow with you. Hey there, I am Jeff, the Radio DJ dude. And what if I were to show you a way to magically automate your on-air weather reports? I'm talking about from finding and writing the weather reports to having it recorded by a really lifelike AI voice and then uploading and importing it to RadioDJ. Once again, come on, say it with me, automagically. Intrigued, are you? Well, let's part those clouds and shine some light on this crazy AI process.
We are on the air.
Oh, mamacita, I cannot wait to pull back this curtain and reveal the AI magic that awaits. So feast your twinkling eyes on this wild screen here. What are all those blips and blops? Well, they're the future of your automated AI-driven weather reports. We're going to dive deep, but first, here's a top-level overview. Using this wild workflow, we're going to grab a weather report, pull data from it, and push it over to a Google spreadsheet where we fill in the appropriate blanks. We then push it over to Google Docs, create a script for your own personal AI voice talent to record. And then it blasts it to the destination of your choice. It could be Dropbox, it could be an FTP folder at your radio station. So you're going to need 3 apps to pull this off. First, make.com, an incredible site that allows you to create automated workflows. For the AI voices, we're using ElevenLabs for 2 reasons. 1, they're pretty high quality, and 2, they actually interface with make.com with an API. That's key. And a random newcomer, which I hope you could find. It's a company called Google, that is. As long as you have a Google account, you can access Drive, Sheets, and Docs. Let's knock out the boring stuff first. Okay, in Drive, you're going to want to create a new folder. And for our purposes, we'll call this Radio. So within Radio, you'll want to create a new Google Sheet. For our application, we're calling this Weather Sheet. Oh yeah, it's definitely the sheet. To prevent this being a 68-minute video, I'm just going to use some of my pre-made content. So your sheet should look similar to my sheet, unless I'm full of it. So follow along. In cell A1, you're going to enter the script for how you want to start your weather forecast. I'm using today's forecast, ... And in cell B1, this is something that will be automatically filled in by our workflow. The conditions of the day, sunny, cloudy, rainy. And then this next cell, C1, is another script prompt with a high of. And in D1, I'm using this formula to convert the Celsius temperature that the system always returns into Fahrenheit. And if you're in America, I urge you to copy that and just paste that formula into here. And if you notice D2, it's saying, take the data from cell D2 and then convert it from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Over to E1, this is once again more voiceover. And this code here, break time, that is specific to ElevenLabs. That's basically telling your robo AI talent to take a slight pause between these 2 sentences, okay? Cell F1 is pulling temperature data in Celsius. And then here's more voiceover. Tomorrow, expect a high of, and the system will drop a temperature into H2, which once again, we convert. And then I say with, and then J1 are the actual conditions of the forecast. Once again, sunny, cloudy, rainy, etc., which is filled in by our workflow. That's a simple forecast, straightforward. So if we put it all together, today's forecast. Sunny skies with a high of 78. Tonight, a low of 62. Tomorrow, expect a high of 73 with partly cloudy skies. That's how it could shake out if that's what the data presents. Now, if we scan over to cells K1 and L1, this is optional. Sometimes you're lucky enough to get a little coin for your weather reports and they're sponsored. Well, this is where you can drop that data in. Once again, I'm adding another slight break, slowing the voiceover dude or dudette down, and then adding this weather report brought to you by, and then you add the sponsor's name in L1. And this could change. I mean, this totally could stay the same, and you just add new sponsors to L1. That is your Google Sheet. You lock that in, you remember where you put it. For me, it's in the radio drive, sitting pretty. Now we pop over to ElevenLabs. One thing I dig about them is how realistic their voices are. They're pretty high quality. I'm never going to say, that's a lock 100%. No one will ever know the difference. No. And no service right now could claim that. But they're good enough, as you'll soon hear. But it's totally subjective. You need to go through their stable of talent and pick the voice that best suits your station.
As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others.
For me, I've settled on Paul for the male voice and good old Matilda for the female.
Ideas are the beginning points of all fortunes.
But you see, there's a lot of dialects. There's British, there's Australian, so you've got a lot to choose from. Or the other cool thing, with ElevenLabs, you could clone your own voice. That does require a paid subscription, though. And your results will vary. I wasn't super thrilled with mine. And while I am on the starter plan, which is $5 a month, the free plan does offer you API access. So you definitely could pull this off. However, you're limited to 10,000 characters per month. So here's our weather report, okay? And in ElevenLabs, this will tell you it's 140 characters. Let's say your report is 160 characters. 160 into 10,000, that gets you about 62 and a half reports a month, which is enough to do 2 a day. Every time you test your settings, that does count against your balance. So maybe the first month you're only doing 1 report a day, and then the next month you will have reset your balance and you can start fresh. Before you build your workflow, you want to find the optimal settings for the AI voice that you just chose. And if you don't like that, you keep tweaking until you find the right inflection, the right speed, and most important, the right level of believability. So write these settings down. For me, I'm using Paul, stability 43, clarity 73, and I'm using the 11 multilingual version 2 engine. That's important too. So with our voiceover talent hired, we're going to jump over to make.com and actually make some magic. When you open your account, and I'm on a free plan, I'm able to do all this for the incredibly low price of nothing. So you want to create a new scenario. That's what they call these things. And for time's sake, I'm not going to create this from scratch, but I just want to give you a flavor of what creating a scenario entails. So right when you click this, you're going to see all their integrations. They integrate and talk to hundreds of other online sites and services. And that's one reason I'm using ElevenLabs, because they have an integration, which is kind of rare for an AI voice site. But our first module is to actually pull a weather report. So if you type weather in the search, you'll be given these 3 choices, and you just want weather. But it's really important, your next click needs to be get daily weather forecast. So you lock that in, and you're going to create 2 modules. First, you want to pull information for today, and you're entering a location by city, or you can do longitude, latitude coordinates, but for me, city is easier. And you need to also enter the country code. Okay, we've got that. That looks good. You'll add another module to weather, daily forecast. Then, if tomorrow's forecast is relevant to you, you click tomorrow, and once again, you enter the same info. We're going to add our next module, which will now jump over to my existing scenario and pick it up from there. This mimics what we just saw. That's today. This is tomorrow. And you see these numbers in boxes. Those become helpful when you're setting up future modules. This is module number 11, module number 16. So when I added that next module in the test scenario that we just closed, it was Google Sheets. But let me just show you if we wanted to add, so you get an idea of what this looks like. Google, and there's Google Sheets. Whoa, buckle up. This could totally be intimidating. And it took me a while to get this right. And honestly, at this point, I need to throw out a massive hat tip to Mike Russell, who produces incredible content, and he opened my eyes to this with a really informative video on the workflow. So since we've created our spreadsheet already, you're going to want to choose Update a Cell, okay? But the first time you start using Make.com, you're going to have to connect your Google account to your Make account. And That basically happens up here. You create a connection, you sign in with Google, and you jump through all those hoops. Then you are connected. So we're updating a cell. You have to tell it which spreadsheet to look for. So you select from the list, you choose a drive, my drive, and then down here, it'll actually let you choose the actual folder that is within your Google Drive. My folder is called Radio. It'll then show you every spreadsheet that's actually in that folder. So weather sheet, sheet number 1. Okay, remember when we talked about the different cells? So B1 is the description content, and it's pulling that from the value. If you click in value, oh my goodness, more gobbledygook. Remember I told you about the numbers in the boxes? So weather 11, that comes from today's weather forecast, which that's what we want. And you want for value, see down here, description, where it says sky is clear. You basically just drag that and you put it in there. It's as easy as that. Okay, we lock that in. Next, you create another module, update a cell. And the next cell you're updating is D2, which is today's high temperature. And D2 is down here. Cell D1 will take the data in D2, which is the Celsius temperature reading, then convert it to Fahrenheit automatically. So for value, you're finding that once again in weather 11, today's forecast, and maximum. Once again, it's a simple click and drag, and now you're good to go. So far, we have today's conditions and today's high temp. What's left is this cell to do tonight's low temp, which is the minimum temperature reading, which goes in F2. Just so we're clear, it's weather 11, today's temp, and there's the minimum reading, drag and place. The next Google Sheet module, we're updating a cell for tomorrow's temperature, which goes into H2, right down here. Tomorrow, expect a high of ... We're getting that data from weather 16, the second weather module, which is the temperature maximum right here. Drag and drop. And then the final cell is the description, the conditions. And that comes from description. Right here, we could already see broken clouds. So in these 5 modules, we have pulled the weather data from these 2 weather modules. It's today's forecast, tomorrow's forecast. And you know, if you don't believe me, let me unlink this just for a second. And that's the cool thing with Make. It's so flexible. And if we wanted to run this scenario just up to this point, we totally can. So right now, look at our weather sheet. We got nothing, honey. Blanks waiting for weather data. Let's feed it some weather data and hit run once and watch the screen. Make will give you an update as it goes. Boom, it's done. Just like that. Popping back to our weather sheet. Looky, we're loving. Today's forecast, skies clear with a high of 19.28, 67. Tonight, a low of 61. Tomorrow, expect a high of 69 with sky is clear. Oh, horrible grammar. That's a huge giveaway. This is Robo BS. Fret not, my broadcasting buddies and buddiettes. So we want to reconnect this, okay? So our next module, another Google Sheet module, okay? We want to get range values. All that means is we, once again, want to look in our weather sheet from the cells A1 to J1. You type that in. That means we're just looking from A1 to J1. This first example is ignoring the sponsorship option. Once you've collected that data, you create, another module. This one is a Google Doc. Specifically, create a document. Since now you're using another Google product, you have to connect your Google account again. So you jump through those hoops. First up, what are you calling the document? And it's up to you. I'm naming mine weather, and then this string of code will enter a date format with day, month, underscore, and an hour and minute. You may not need that. Maybe yours is just called weather. And if that's the case, you just delete all that. This is where it gets interesting. Just to show you, I kind of know what I'm doing. I've deleted all my content because this is where you custom build your document. And this is what makes it so flippin' cool. Click in Content. And you're looking for the module Google Sheets 14, where you ask it to go pull information from a range of cells. You remember when we typed that in? Well, here's that data. We're building our voiceover script by dropping these in the order we want them spoken. So today's forecast, sky is clear. You drag over the next one with a high of 78. What's next? Well, tonight, low of 61. Tomorrow, just like that. You've drag and dropped your forecast. The content is loaded. You choose a drive. Where do you want to save this script to? Well, we're back into the drive with our weather spreadsheet. So that's in my radio folder. You leave it like that. You don't need a header or a footer. You lock that in. So your document has been created. And at first, that's as far as I got because I didn't know a lot about that weather module. And once it produced some of that wacky language and terminology, I said, no way is that going to fly. So you have to make this more readable, more natural, more conversational. So you create another module, Google Docs, and you want to replace text in a document. That's the module you're looking for. So when you first open this module, it's going to say document ID, click here to choose file, but you want to click map, okay? Click map, and then we'll pick it up from my module. So I'm saying 29 document ID. So remember numbers in the boxes? The last module was Google Docs 29, create a document. So here it is, 29, and you just want the document ID so it can identify the document in question. And you just drag that in like that. You're good to go. And the first item I wanted to replace was clear sky because it's more conversational to say clear skies. So old text to be replaced. You type in and then you enter the new text. Okay, moving on. Another term I wanted to replace was clear. Sometimes it would just say clear, where I wanted to say clear skies. And something else that's clunky, sky is clear. Well, a caveman might enjoy that. No, we're presenting to a different class who speak the Queen's English. So clear skies. Okay, that's locked in. Some of you might be asking, well, I don't want to have to monitor that sheet every day. If that weather report hits me with some wacky terminology, well, I'll drop this URL in the description. This is Open Weather's lexicon. It's all the terms they use on an everyday basis. So you can look through here. Under description, this is what you can expect for future weather reports. So if you see some conditions in this list that could be applicable to your normal weather, well, you may want to pop over and replace that text with something more conversational. Okay, you with me? Well, let's do this. Let's break the chain here and see how we're doing. So when I click run, we're going to get the weather report. We're going to create the spreadsheet. We're going to pull data from the spreadsheet, go over to Google Docs, create our script, and then replace words in our script. Run it. And you see, hard at work, pop, 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 bing, 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 bang, bang, bang. And boom, boom, boom. It's done. Back to our radio drive. Refresh. There's our weather report with my date string. Open it up. Today's forecast. Light rain with a high of 67. Tonight, a low of 57. Tomorrow, expect a high of 69 with clear skies. Woo! That sounds good. That's bikini weather. Maybe in Alaska. And there's your forecast. So we have to continue on with the scenario here. Now that the script is ready to roll, you have to get that over to your robo voiceover talent. Add another module. It's another Google Doc module. And this time you're getting the content of a document. Okay? And you want to choose by mapping. You're grabbing another document ID. And once again, you remember, in the document ID comes from Google Docs 29, create a document. And you just drag that in. Boom, boom, boom. Good to go. And that is pushing to ElevenLabs, the AI voice generation site. And yes, you add and then the next module and you type in 11. And you have to connect your account to make.com. And that requires grabbing an API key and pasting it in here. What? Simple. Come over to ElevenLabs. You click on your profile, you copy your API key, come back over to weather, and you paste it in. Okay, easy. So here is my module. Like we said, we're using Paul. The multilingual V2 engine's been selected. Let's finish up with the settings. Do you remember how I said 43 and 73% in ElevenLabs? Well, here in Make, it's a decimal value. So 43% is 0.43, 73%, 0.73. You enter those settings. Now, where's the script coming from? It's coming from text, and you're pulling it from the previous module, get content of a document, which is 22 for me at least. So here you see all the options, and you simply want text content. Well, where is that? It's right here. You actually can see a little preview. Today's forecast, clear skies, ... Drag the text content in the box, and now this is ready to rock and roll. So where are we at? Right now, we're ready to send the script to ElevenLabs. It will then record the voiceover as an MP3 file. And let's keep moving so the next time I run this scenario, you'll be amazed. So after it generates the MP3 file, I have a router set up here, which is pretty cool. And for a router, you can add a router right here. Then you have to tell it, what do you want the router to do? For me, I'm having it do two things. One, send the MP3 to my Dropbox. And two, FTP it to a folder at my radio station computer. For this, you have to enter in all your host data, username, password, a typical FTP scenario. Now this becomes important. For file, what do you choose? Well, you want a map, and then it automatically puts in the data, which if you click here, you see ElevenLabs generates two options. File size, you don't need it. You want the data. So you drag data over, and you want to give it a file name, okay? Weather.mp3. And when we come to the RadioDJ chapter, this will make more sense. So let's lock that in. And you'll see this is pretty much mimicked by my Dropbox settings, which I've connected my Dropbox account. I've chosen the folder where I want to send the radio weather to. I've mapped it like we did in the last step, given it a file name, and I'm choosing to overwrite an existing file here. Because if you have multiple weather reports a day, I mean, weather isn't something you're hanging on to and cherishing. No, it's one and done. Run it once, and you overwrite it with the next more current report. Okay, so that looks good. I've added this other task, so after it uploads the file to Dropbox and FTP, I'm telling it to wait 60 seconds and then delete the weather script, just to keep things clean. You add another module, Google Docs, and there's a delete a document option in there. And you're polling the document ID way back in time when you first created the document. That's 29 for me. So you're dragging that document ID in, which tells Google to delete this specific document. Then your folder is wide open and ready for the next weather report. Okay, there she is in all her AI glory. And if you could stand the excitement, let's run this baby. Make my weather dreams come true, baby. Woo-wee, look at that. Oh, it's speedy. It's writing the script. It's now replacing that text. It sent the script to the voiceover artist. He's clearing his throat, taking a sip of water. He just recorded the voiceover. He saved the voiceover, and now it's in our Dropbox. What? And in a folder at our station. Looky, looky, our weather has been deposited in our Dropbox. Let's give it a listen.
Today's forecast. Partly cloudy skies with a high of 68. Tonight, a low of 61. Tomorrow, expect a high of 69 with clear skies.
Woo-wee! That sounds good. And this same file is in a folder back on our radio station computer. But before we hop off, let's jump back to Make, and I want to show you two other options here. Now that we know this scenario works, we can iterate. Let's say if you want a male voiceover to do your weather in the morning and a female to jump in the afternoon. That's her shift. Well, easy to do. You basically take the male weather scenario, clone it, boom, and name it female. But you make one more change. Zoom into ElevenLabs, and after sampling and casting one star female voiceover artist, you lock her info in. Mine is Matilda. She uses the V1 engine, and I put her optimal settings in these two fields, okay? Everything else is the same. You're still grabbing the text content from this module. You're just making that one change. You save your scenario, and you're good to go. And in case you're interested in our VO check, let's put our ear on meteorologist Matilda.
Today's forecast: light rain with a high of 67. Tonight, a low of 61. Tomorrow, expect a high of 69 with clear skies. This weather report brought to you by Tasty Time Pizza.
Oh, she was definitely a good hire. Nice. Okay, let's clone the mail scenario one more time. And we're going to bring in the sponsor. And the only tweak this requires is the get range values module. All you're doing is expanding your range to include those two other cells that have that data. So I'm expanding the range from A1, J1, which is how the first one was, to A1, L1. That's it. No more. Boom. Done. And going back to our weather spreadsheet, you'll see that K1 and L1 have the sponsorship script. This weather report brought to you by Tasty Time Pizza. And I hope it goes without saying, this is all customizable. You write this script to whatever makes your heart sing. Okay, save it. Boom. Let's say if you wanted to change the name of this file to weather sponsor, okay? So change that. And let's give this a run. And we'll start a timer to see how long all this madness takes. I mean, how long would it take you to go into the production room, get the weather report, write it, read it, record it, upload it? Now, it takes exactly that much time. To prove it, look at that. Weather sponsor waiting for us in our folder. And I get it. We've spent a considerable amount of time building this workflow, setting everything up, testing, tweaking. But you have to remember, you only do that once. And once this has been baked, all you do is you set your schedule. How often do you want this scenario to run? So if you want to check the weather 3 times a day, do it. Or is it once a day at a specific time? So you enter that time in, and make.com will run this automatically. So you think that might save you a little time and effort? So back on our desktop, let us look in this special folder for our weather. I created a directory called VT Weather. Whoa, Brenda, looky here. Those are our files. And with those in place, we launch RadioDJ. So there's a complicated and an easy way to pull this off. Complicated way is setting up a folder sync and then scheduling an event to check a certain folder at prescribed times during the day. Ay. Let's hit the easy button, baby. So the easy button requires creating a new category. I'm going to put it in voice tracks. It'll be called weather. Add it. Okay, good to go. In the Trickety Track Manager, we're going to import a file. Take 32 guesses what file that will be. It's our weather report in the VT weather folder. So we're bringing it in. Pay attention here. Category, voice tracks, subcategory, weather, genre don't matter. Track type, I'm setting this as a variable duration file because every weather report will be a different length. Oh, so important. If you plan to run this over any other production element, a music bed, a weather bed, click that overlay file button. Enter these details in. My station is XXX80s, which you should be tuning into right now for a royally rad 80s music listening experience. And then we can just do weather update. Bada boom, bada bang. We're locked. We're loaded. Once you import this, you've activated the easiest way to pull off these weather reports. Because every time your scenario runs, it produces a weather.mp3 file. It's just going to overwrite the previous file in that folder. No muss, no fuss. No file syncing, no nothing. Because it's variable duration, it don't matter how long every future file is. So let's import it. It's there and it's waiting to be called upon. So how do you use this? I think this is a brilliant solution for any one station that's powered by rotations, like mine is. I think the easiest way to pull this off is let's add a track from a category. And honestly, for the sexiest sound, it would be nice to have a weather stager, a weather bed. And if you don't have any, RadioDJ dude's got you taken care of. head over to this shop for some crazy affordable pre-made weather production elements. We've added this music bed from our weather bed subcategory. Let's move this closer up to the top. Next up in the lineup is a voice track from our weather subcategory. There'll only ever be one, and it'll be wonderful. So we pop that up. Granted, I already have a station jingle here. Of course, the other way to pull this off is with an event. Build a manual event that does everything you've just seen in the rotation. Okay, keep in mind, events load from the top down. So let's load this up. We're going to start with a weather music bed. Next, weather voice track. And finally, station jingle. But I did it in this order to show you this is wrong because this event will load from the top. So upon playback, the jingle will go first, then the VO. So it's very important to arrange this in the right order. The first action is the jingle, then the voiceover, then the weather bed, okay? Trust me. Weather report. Done. And to see this in action, let's pull it up here. There's our weather report. So weather bed, weather update, and then the jingle. And then a song. Okay, the big moment. Let's hit play and hear how this sounds.
Today's forecast. Partly cloudy skies with a high of 68. Tonight, a low of 61. Tomorrow, expect a high of 69 with clear skies.
Hit after hit. Hit after hit.
Triple X 80s.
Oh, giddy up. That sounded great. My only critique would be it needs like a half-second pause from the last word in the forecast before the jingle hit. Because it was a little tight. That's just how ElevenLabs produces the voiceover. There really isn't any pad. Now that we know that event works, let me finish the thought on what you do with that event. And I've made many a video about the right way to insert an event in a rotation or a playlist. I'm not going to bore you with that long story again, but direct your attention up to the right. There's a link that shows you the right way to add events, to minimize the playback lag, and to squash the dead air that comes with adding an event the old-fashioned way. And by old-fashioned, I mean wrong. Don't you dare come up here and say, I want to add a manual event, Martha. Do that at your own peril. No. You have to use my dummy silent file method. Watch that video or watch this video. It's much newer and probably more to the point. Right up there. It's back.
Today's forecast. Partly cloudy skies with a high of 68. Tonight, a low of 61. Tomorrow, expect a high of 69 with clear skies.
Totally awesome.
Triple X 80s.
Much better. Let's dig into how we solve that problem. I have a silent audio file that is a half second that I've imported into my library. And I made sure to check overlay file, so it will also play over a music bed. And in the event, I loaded the specific track, silence half, and I put it into place right up here. Okay? We don't need to. So it's the weather bed, it's the voiceover, silence half, and then the jingle. And I think that's a sweet spot of space between the two elements to give it some breathing room. But just in case you don't believe me with the whole one folder, one file option, let's change the name of the weather report with the sponsor mention to weather.mp3 and rerun this. So without doing anything else but just clicking on this manual event and loading this up, weather report. And in theory, this file should be the updated report with the sponsor mention.
Today's forecast. Partly cloudy skies with a high of 68. Tonight, a low of 61. Tomorrow, expect a high of 69 with clear skies. This weather report brought to you by Tasty Time Pizza.
Continuous hits all day long. Continuous hits.
Triple X 80s.
Come on, sing it with me. You might as well face it. I'm addicted to automated AI weather reports. Hot damn, I think we're in business. Remember, you could use this AI hocus pocus for more than just weather reports. And you have my permission just to run wild. Let creativity be your muse. Now, if you dig this idea, well, please spill it right down here in the comments. Let me know how you plan to adapt this AI magic to maybe pull off something completely different. Or if you're interested in future videos on using this for other kind of possibilities or workflows, I'd love to hear about that too. I'm Jeff, the human-powered radio DJ dude, and I gotta tell you, the forecast is looking mighty good for you to leave me a like and subscribe. I do most humbly thank you. Definitely appreciate your time, and until our digital paths cross again, keep rocking those mics all over the world.